All that I'm saying is this, and I think it is an indisputable statement of fact. We have never before seen restrictions as severe, extensive, and prolonged as those experienced for most of 2020.
That's Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito sounding the alarm on the personal freedoms being taken away from Americans due to COVID-19. This comes as states all across the country are now implementing new measures to try to curb the recent surge in cases. As Gabe Gutierrez reports, officials in the Midwest are pleading with the public for help in getting the virus under control.
Chicago is in crisis. The city reporting more than 15,000 new COVID cases this week. That's more than Arizona, Massachusetts, Georgia, or Virginia. Now, Chicago's mayor is taking dramatic action, issuing a 30-day stay-at-home advisory starting this Monday. Lori Lightfoot is pleading with residents to remain at home except for essential activities and urging people not to host any gatherings at all, including over Thanksgiving.
And while this is tough, and of course this whole year has been tough, we must tell you, you must cancel the normal Thanksgiving plans. We could see 1,000 more Chicagoans die from this virus by the end of the year.
Across the Midwest, infections and hospitalizations are breaking records. Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana are now reporting a new coronavirus case every 4 seconds on average. A growing number of conservative governors from Utah to Iowa are issuing mask mandates for the first time.
The virus is present in all of our communities, and all of us can help stop its spread.
This wave of new infections is striking the coast, too. California becoming the second state after Texas to hit the 1 million mark for COVID cases. Testing lines in Connecticut stretching for blocks. Schools in New York City and Philadelphia are weighing whether to cancel in-person classes and go back to all virtual. Schools in Detroit are already taking that step.
This is kind of like standing on the beach and watching the hurricane slowly roll towards you.
At Beaumont Hospital in Michigan, which treats more COVID patients than any place in the state, staff members like Erin Fusen are overwhelmed.
How can I help you today?
She has the heartbreaking task of telling family members of COVID patients they're not allowed to visit. Now she's personally facing that same agony. Her dad contracted the virus. Like so many, the only way they can see each other is over video chat.
We just need to worry about your breathing right now. I haven't seen him in almost 2 weeks. My family's very close, so it's tough.
New at noon, health officials applying the brakes, saying that COVID-19 antiviral remedy remdesivir should not be used as a routine treatment for coronavirus patients in critical care. This comes after the World Health Organization released the largest study yet on the drug's effectiveness and revealed it had little to no impact on COVID-19 patients, contradicting previous trials. Gilead, the U.S. firm that developed the drug, is questioning the WHO's findings, referencing other studies that proves the drug's success. Let's take a look outside right now. Beautiful afternoon, not a cloud in the sky, kind of warm out there as well. Let's get to Jeff and our afternoon forecast. Hey, Jeff.
Hey there, yeah, temperatures up into the lower 80s for today. Lots of sunshine. We'll start to see a few clouds over the weekend, maybe even a few showers as a front moves through, but nothing like that today. We're already into the lower 80s around the triangle, and most of the lakes area is getting up around 80 degrees right now. Forecast for the rest of the day calling for temperatures generally in the lower 80s. By 6 o'clock, we'll be seeing temperatures falling back into the lower 70s, and a majority of the evening will be in the upper 60s. So looking like a beautiful evening if you're heading out to dinner, or maybe just heading out to an area football game, something like that. Looking very nice across southeast Texas. Weekend, for the most part, looks nice. Like I said, there is a chance of rain over the weekend. We'll talk about that, and we'll look at a fall-like forecast as we head towards next week. We'll show you that in our 7-day in just a little bit.
All right, thank you, Jeff. According to NBC News, Arizona and its 11 electoral college votes are now projected to go to Joe Biden, putting his electoral college count at 290. This is the first time Arizona has elected a Democrat for president since 1996. North Carolina and Georgia still remain too close to call. We continue our team coverage now with Kristen Welker, who has the latest as there seems to be increasing pressure in Washington for President Trump to concede the election.
Overnight, NBC News projecting that President-elect Joe Biden has won Arizona. It's a big shift for the state, which has not voted for a Democrat since 1996. Mr. Biden is forging ahead with his transition, even as President Trump still refuses to concede the election. And the president's own cybersecurity officials with an unprecedented rebuke, calling the election the most secure in American history, adding there is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. It comes as President Trump is spreading falsehoods about the integrity of the vote. On Twitter, the president amplifying a far-right conspiracy theory, alleging without evidence that millions of votes were manipulated in Biden's favor. Twitter flagged the information as disputed. Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama is speaking out for the first time since the election on his successor's ongoing unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud in an interview with 60 Minutes.
They appear to be motivated in part because the president doesn't like to lose and never admits loss.
President Obama also expressing his deep concerns that Republicans are endangering the country by not making the president face facts.
It is one more step in delegitimizing not just the incoming Biden administration, but democracy generally. And that's a dangerous path.
While most Republicans still won't publicly acknowledge Biden as the president-elect, a growing number of them are breaking with Mr. Trump. At least a dozen now saying Mr. Biden should receive classified intelligence briefings, which are being blocked by the White House.
I do think that both the president and his competition here, Vice President Biden, should have access to those classified reports.
A key Republican governor saying this.
I think that we need to consider the former vice president as the president-elect. Joe Biden is the president-elect.
Overnight, the president-elect's newly minted chief of staff, Ron Klain, weighing in on the delay.
The president-elect is the president-elect. He is entitled under the statute to get those kinds of briefings.
Well, also developing this afternoon, the EU says it looks forward to working with the United States under the leadership of President-elect Joe Biden, expressing hope that the presidential transition will not be a bumpy one. The EU Foreign Affairs chief congratulating Biden and Harris on their projected win and what they called an historic victory, saying the 27-nation bloc looks forward to bettering relations with the U.S. Developing this afternoon, 2 more school districts in the region will now have access to the state's rapid testing program. This comes after the state announced that Port Arthur ISD and the Earhart School will join Bob Hope in using the state's supplies. The state hopes that the program will be able to reduce the spread of COVID-19 inside Texas schools. Also in Port Arthur, police want to know how a man died in a backyard yesterday. Chief Tim Duraso telling 12 News his detectives responded around 10 in the morning. The man's body was found behind a home on Gulfway Drive. The police chief says it's still too early to know exactly what happened. For now, they're simply treating it as an unattended death. We now know which company is considering building a $40 million industrial project in Orange County. And it's one that's probably familiar to a lot of you. Optimus Steel, which also operates in Beaumont, wants to expand its operations along nearly 500 acres off Old Highway 90 near Rose City. According to county documents, Optimus Steel would produce a new steel wire at the site. The facility would create about 65 permanent jobs. The commissioners will discuss lucrative tax incentives at the next meeting on December 22nd.